Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Maddie Miss and today we are talking about the global sensation that is It Ends With Us. Now in this video I'll be talking about the marketing strategies that Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively and Colleen Hoover did for the movie. I will also be talking about the major changes from the book and any and all controversies surrounding the movie as a whole. I'm excited to get started on that. But as always, don't forget to leave a like and comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the movie. Have you seen it yet? Are you going to see it? Are you a Colleen Hoover fan or are you a Colleen Hoover skeptic like myself? Please let me know, and of course please keep all comments down below respectful. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I have to give you guys some content warnings because again this video does deal with a very serious issue of domestic violence, and if you or someone that you know needs help, I'm going to leave the number up here on the screen. I'll also leave the link down below in the comments because again, it's very important to spread awareness and to also help people in need. And I think it's also very important to make sure that people have the resources that they need to get help. Content warnings ahead. We are dealing with domestic violence, both sexual and physical. We are also going to be discussing gun violence. If that is something particularly triggering for you, feel free to sign off or just skip ahead to different parts of the video. I really care about everyone's mental health. It's really important to me that you guys feel safe watching my channel, watching my videos, and I also feel like it's important to warn people ahead of time because not everyone is in the mental space to be able to experience a movie like this. So I want to keep that in mind. So Colleen Hoover, for those of you who are unfamiliar with her, she is a very notable author who rose to fame, viral fame on TikTok, and more specifically in the niche of booktok. She sold over 1 million copies of It Ends With Us last year, and she has even outsold the Bible. It Ends With Us was actually inspired by Colleen Hoover's mother's relationship with her abusive father. Her net worth is currently $10 million, and it's also interesting to note that Colleen Hoover used to be a social worker, and although Colleen Hoover is a very popular, very famous author, she is also infamous for glamorizing or romanticizing trauma or abuse in her books, especially in cases of Verity, Layla, Ugly Love, and November 9. She's also been critiqued for fetishizing pregnancy. Every single book comes with a whole list of content warnings, and one of them should definitely be Colleen Hoover's very juvenile writing voice. I will say when I was personally reading her book, that was probably the most distracting thing for me. I would categorize her books as more of new adult dark romance. She is also called out for some very tone-deaf decisions when it comes to the movie and marketing for It Ends With Us. Colleen Hoover tried to release a coloring book for It Ends With Us, which many people criticized her for, and then she eventually decided to cancel the coloring book and apologize to the public, which in my opinion was too little too late. The biggest criticism with Colleen Hoover is that she glamorizes and romanticizes very traumatic and very sensitive topics, and she doesn't always treat them with the sensitivity and gravitas and dignity that they deserve. Also, since the release of It Ends With Us, the movie, Colleen Hoover has promoted her press-on nail line that is directly inspired by the movie. So again, capitalizing off of very traumatic and sensitive topics to make an extra buck. Colleen Hoover has also come under fire for marketing her books towards a younger female audience, even though her books are more for new adults. When her books blew up on booktok, a lot of these teenage girls are looking up to Colleen Hoover, reading her books, and even creating videos crushing on Ryle, saying that they can fix him or something along those lines. And it's very disturbing for me watching these girls like thirst after a man that pushes women down the stairs and sees that as normal or something that they can conquer or fix. Okay, so now that we've covered Colleen Hoover as an author, I want to talk about my personal movie experience. So the movie theater that I went to is called Hollywood Palms. It's a very fun, interactive dine-in theater, and each screening room has its own theme, which I really like. But I found it incredibly ironic when my screening room for It Ends With Us was the Disney themed room. It was just a very strange experience. They're also selling movie themed drinks based off of It Ends With Us. They had a Lily Blossom drink that I did not order, and I would try to take a picture of it, but the screen like switched to the next slide super fast and I couldn't get it. It was a pretty little drink. It was like a pink drink with a little flower in it. The next drinks that were advertised were Deadpool and Wolverine drinks, which, considering the marketing for this movie, I'm not surprised at all. So I actually watched the movie the Monday after it was first released, and I was very surprised because the theater was actually pretty full for a Monday night. There were like 20 people, including me. So I thought that was pretty impressive. Also, since the budget for it was $20 million, not including marketing, I don't think. They already made back $45 million within the first couple of days. Yeah, so my experience was mostly a positive one. The majority of the people there were women. I saw a couple men in there. I was with a pretty good group. There were some people who were giggling and laughing and having a good time. And of course, there was a little bit of crying towards the end of the movie. I was surprised because it wasn't as like emotionally draining as I previously thought. So it was a good movie going experience for me. Although I will say later on, I kind of regretted that choice a little bit. That night, I had quite a few graphic nightmares. So it wasn't super positive, I will say. Just keep that in mind. Movies like this can cause nightmares. You're probably not going to have a great experience watching it, and you may not have a great experience after watching it. So before I dive into the movie in more detail here, I do want to say spoilers ahead. Yes, if you don't want to be spoiled, go ahead and skip forward to where you don't see the title card for It Ends With Us, the movie, up on the screen anymore, because that'll be your signal that I'm done talking about it. The movie opens up with Lily returning home to Maine to be with her mother for her father's funeral. So her father, the mayor of the town, beloved man of the town, passed away, but he was abusive to her mom. So Lily obviously has a very complicated relationship with him. She doesn't know what to say at his funeral. She can't write a eulogy. So in the middle of the funeral, she just leaves. And she goes to Boston, and then she goes up to this random building. She goes up to the roof, and on the roof, as she's speculating, looking out on the Boston skyline, this guy comes up on the roof and he's very visibly angry, and then he kicks a chair. She decides to strike up a conversation with him. And they get to talking, and the guy, Ryle, reveals that he is a neurosurgeon, and she says that she's opening her own flower shop, and they are very obviously attracted to each other, but before they can actually kiss, they are interrupted. Ryle is called into the hospital, and then he leaves to go to the hospital, and she leaves, and then she thinks she'll never see this guy again. So months later, Lily finally opens up her flower shop, and as she's getting it together, Jenny Slate's character, Alyssa, walks into the shop and she is hired as her first employee. And then Ryle comes to the shop because, grand reveal, he is Alyssa's brother. Ryle is their first flower customer and he sends the flowers to Lily. So Ryle's very excited that he can see Lily again because he can't stop thinking about her, even though he's a casual relationship kind of guy. And Lily is a bring her home to mama kind of girl, even though we never meet his mom, ironically. So Alyssa and her husband, and then Lily and Ryle got on double dates. They go to karaoke, they go dress up in onesies to get free beer at this bar. And then finally, at Alyssa's birthday party, the two of them sleep together, but not actually sleeping together. So Lily spends the night, and then the sister is obviously not super happy about it because her brother is a serial dater, right? He doesn't really do serious relationships, so she doesn't want him to hurt Lily, which is understandable. But Ryle proves her wrong for the time being, and they actually develop this very serious relationship. When Alyssa has her baby, Ryle actually proposes to Lily in the hospital. So they get married. Also around this time, Lily meets Atlas again. So as like the present timeline is happening, we get some flashbacks of Lily's past. So we see Lily as a teenager, a friend, the homeless younger Atlas, who lives across the street in this abandoned house after his mother kicks him out. They strike up a friendship, which quickly turns into a relationship. And then one night, her dad discovers them in bed together. And then he takes a bat and physically hurts Atlas to the point where he is hospitalized. Lily doesn't hear from him ever again until she runs into Atlas in his new restaurant in Boston. So they meet at the restaurant. Lily doesn't tell Ryle straight away who this person is because she obviously is still very much in love with him, right? He's her first love. And Atlas starts to see the warning signs that Ryle is abusive like her father. And when he confronts Ryle, they get into this huge fight in the restaurant, and he's basically banned from the restaurant forever. After this altercation, Ryle tells Lily, I don't want you to go to his restaurant anymore. Lily tells him, fine, I will not go to his restaurant anymore. And then, of course, due to the loophole, Atlas comes to her flower shop. This is an interesting scene. So Atlas takes one of her business cards, write his number on the business card, and then puts it inside her phone cover. Which is like, why wouldn't you just put it in the phone? I hated that part. So Ryle, of course, finds it. And he gets very upset. And this is not the first time that Ryle has gotten upset. So Ryle first is abusive to Lily one day when he's about to perform a very important surgery. He goes to grab something out of the oven without an oven mitt, which every male character in this movie is stupid. So he grabs it without an oven mitt. He burns his hand, as you do. He drops the pan. He gets very upset, and then Lily ends up on the ground. You don't really see the abuse happening, but you see Lily gets hurt, and then you hear his justifications for it, which I found to be very interesting because this is like the movie showing how abusers can be gaslighters too. So Ryle finds Atlas's number in Lily's phone in the phone case. Sorry, so stupid. And he gets mad. He throws a lamp down on the ground. He gets super upset, and then he storms out of the apartment. Lily follows him, and then she ends up falling down the stairs, hitting her head super hard, and then he nurses her back to health. Thank God he's a doctor, right, ladies? So his abusive streaks start to come out more and more and more. So one day, this magazine comes out with like the top 10 newest businesses in Boston. Lily Bloom Flower Shop is number 7, and then number 1 is Root, Atlas's restaurant. So Lily doesn't really read the splurge on Atlas's restaurant, but then when she gets home, she wants to celebrate with Ryle, and she makes a really nice dinner for him. Ryle comes home, and he's not particularly pleased because he also read the article. And Atlas contributes a lot of the inspiration for his restaurant to Lily without really mentioning her in the article, but Ryle knows that it's her, and he gets really upset. He tries to bite off the tattoo. Lily gets freaked out, and then Ryle tries to force himself on her. And then she escapes, and she leaves, and she goes to Atlas. They go to the hospital, and that's when they find out that Lily is pregnant. And they go back to Atlas's apartment, and they talk about whether or not she wants to keep the baby. And then Lily ultimately decides, like, yes, I want to have this baby despite the fact that it's Ryle's baby. As I guess something good has to come out of this relationship, right? She decides to go live with her mom and figure out the baby stuff. And Ryle does come by and help out a little bit, but he doesn't stay for super long. And finally, when she has the baby, she decides to divorce Ryle. And of course, Ryle is very resistant to this because he loves Lily. He loves their daughter. He wants them to be a big, happy family. But she tells him no. She tells him, if our daughter came to you and told you that her boyfriend did all the things that you did to me, what would you tell her? And he said, I would tell her to leave. So their daughter was named Emerson after Ryle's brother that Ryle accidentally shot to death when they were kids with a gun that he found in his father's room. At the end of the movie, you can see that Emerson is grown up, like she's a toddler, probably 1 or 2 years old, so it's been a while. And then they're at a farmer's market and she meets Atlas, and then the movie ends. And this movie is marketed more as a rom-com, and you can really see that reflected in the music. So you had Taylor Swift's song My Tears Ricochet, because of course Taylor Swift and Blake Lively are friends, so of course her music's in the movie. You had Cherry by Lana Del Rey, but this one was a big shock to me because there is this song, and at first I thought it was a Lumineers or a Monsters and Men song, and I was listening to it, and I was sitting there, and I'm like, wait, no way, you're kidding. So I took out my phone, I Shazammed it in the middle of the theater, and it was Girls in Calico by Towers. Now, Towers is this indie folk band that originated from Flagstaff, and I went to college in Flagstaff, and I saw them like playing and like stages in the back of coffee houses. And now they have a song in a major motion picture. So I thought that was really cool. So I definitely like the music. And yeah, the music was kind of a double-edged sword because you go into the movie thinking, oh, I really like this song. But then you kind of leave thinking, like, did they not take it seriously enough? That was kind of a conflicted thing for me. Even though this movie wasn't my favorite, I still found a lot of things to be positive about it, and I was very happy that other women and people in the theater were able to enjoy it. It was nice to hear them laughing and having a good time and talking to their friends and really enjoying it. And I still found some things in the movie to be funny. I really like the sister slash best friend, Jenny Slate. The actress was phenomenal. Every scene she was in, she stole the show. She stole the show completely. Every time she was on screen, I was laughing at something that she said, or I was smiling. I was having a good time. I loved her character so much. I loved her clothes. She had the best outfits out of the two female characters, in my opinion. I loved how she was able to show off her comedy chops. Even her sighing was so funny because, like, the comedic timing, it was perfect. Like, chef's kiss, amazing. I will sing this woman's praises forever. Whoever was the casting director for this movie did an excellent job. Young Lily sounded so much like Blake Lively. I thought that she was dubbing over her voice, but I don't think she was. Like, they were so similar. They even got the mole right on her, like, nose, like on the right side of her face. Like, the attention to detail there was so interesting, and I love that. So the casting of the younger characters was spot on, phenomenal, loved it. I thought that they were very good together. Their chemistry was very nice. I thought that they both acted really well. I liked how the movie opened up with her father's funeral, and how Lily was really struggling to come up with anything positive about the man who was super abusive to her mother and to Atlas. Like, that scene framed with the end and how she's struggling to get out of her relationship with Ryle and really learning to empathize with her mother. And when she asks, like, why didn't you leave him? Why did you stick around? Why did you stay? And her mother just being like, it would have been harder to leave, and I loved him. And I really liked that. I really loved her relationship with her mother. So that was a very realistic part of it. And I really liked how Lily just learned to really identify with her mother and empathize with her, and their relationship strengthened through this. I thought that was really cool because it was like closure for Lily, right? So it opens up with the funeral and ends right when Lily says goodbye to her father at the gravesite. So I thought that was a very interesting character arc there. Another thing I liked about the movie was the ending. She had a very big support system. She was very lucky. So her mom was on her side. She welcomed her back into the home. She had a safe space to raise the baby. Melissa, her sister-in-law, was very supportive of her leaving Ryle. That scene with the two of them where Jenny Slate is just bawling her eyes out was a very moving scene. I definitely liked that. I also like the scene where she and Ryle were building the crib together. I thought that was very good. And also the scene where she gives birth to her daughter and she was telling Ryle, if your daughter was going through this, would you want her to stay? And he said no. I thought that was a great scene. I feel like the movie should have just ended with her and her mom and her daughter, because I feel like that would have been the more it ends with us scene, right? There are these women who are survivors of abusive relationships, surviving and thriving together. I thought that would have been a perfect ending. Just them on the swings with her flowers. No, but it's a rom-com with a love triangle, so of course the woman can't end the movie single. God forbid, right? My favorite thing of all, the entire film, was the fact that we did not have to deal with Colleen Hoover's atrocious writing voice. Oh my god. Awful. I am not a fan of Colleen Hoover's writing style. She's an awful writer in my opinion. I'm so sorry if you're a Colleen Hoover stan. I'm just not one of those people. I liked that we didn't have to deal with the journaling, the god awful Dear Ellen letters that we had in the book. There was like a little bit of a shout out, like you saw Lily writing a letter to Ellen, but we never got to see it. We saw her watching an Ellen show. So there were still bits of Ellen throughout this movie, but I like that not every scene opened up with a Dear Ellen voiceover. I thought that was a very good, wise decision. And even though I don't like Colleen Hoover, it was still kind of fun to see her in her own movie. She's at Alyssa's birthday party. If you like blink, you'll miss her. I think the movie was a lot better than the book because I feel like the movie focused on the more important parts of the book than the book did. And the book had a lot more problematic things that the movie just either omitted or just fixed a little bit, like their ages. And in the book, Atlas was 18 when he and Lily had relations for the first time, and Lily was 15. It's mentioned that Atlas is going to go join the Marines in a few months, so it's alluded to the fact that he's 17. And I think they said that Lily was 16 in the movie. I can't remember, but it's like they're around the same age, so it's a little more appropriate. So it's not like illegal what they're doing. But I like that the writers decided to age young Atlas down and kind of keep Lily the same, so it's not as problematic. I don't have to call CPS on a fictional character. That's good. The thing with the movie, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. Which leads me to our next section, things I did not like about the movie. And there are several. For a woman who is starting her own business, like a first-time business owner, a small business owner, how is she affording all of these like designer clothes? Like there's one scene where she has like this beautiful sequin burnt orange full body dress. And I'm like, that looks expensive. And then she's wearing like these gorgeous like sequin boots. And I'm like, there's no way these things are not hundreds of dollars. How can you afford this? You have loans you have to pay off. How are you affording these $100 designer dresses and boots? There's no way. That goes into my criticism of the movie overall, is that it was too focused on being rom-com. You know, the typical like, okay, even though you live in the most expensive city in America, you can still afford a private studio apartment of your own, even though you're like a small business flower shop owner in Boston. Boston is number 9. One of the top 10 most expensive American cities to live in. No, I don't buy it. Second thing I would like to critique about the movie, and I don't like critiquing people's acting skills. This is my personal opinion, but I don't think Blake Lively was the best actor in this movie. I was very disappointed by Blake Lively's performance. I felt like she was really phoning it in. There were times in the movie where I just kind of felt like Blake Lively was acting as Blake Lively. Like, I've seen a lot of her movies, I've seen a lot of her shows, and I was like thinking to myself today, and I was like, is Blake Lively a good actor? Or is Blake Lively just really pretty? I don't know. I just wasn't really blown away with her acting performance, especially in the scene where she confesses to Jenny Slate's character that her brother is abusive. And she talks about like Emerson and the incident where Ryle accidentally shot his brother when he was 6 years old. And Jenny is doing the absolute most. She's sobbing. And she is just like, oh, giving it her all, and cut to Blake Lively. And she's just like this. Like, emote. Do something. Shed one tear. One. I don't think she shed a single tear this entire movie. It just felt very awkward. I thought the younger cast did a spectacular job. I thought Jenny Slate did a great job. I thought that Justin Baldoni did a really good job. Like, it just kind of felt like people were existing. I kind of felt like some of these people saw this movie as like a paycheck. So that's my main critique. The writing in this movie. I'm sorry. Like the rooftop scene, so awkward. This is when Ryle and Lily are supposed to have their meet cute, and it was like seconds would go by of just dead silence. And I was like, are you watching a Twilight film? Why are these people just staring at each other? Blake Lively took the script home to her husband, Ryan Reynolds, and he helped her write a scene. And I can't imagine my surprise when I found out that that scene was my least favorite scene in the entire movie. My eye is just twitching, just thinking. Like, you can't see it, but my eye is twitching just thinking about it.
We work together so much. Though the iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you know.
Like, the dialogue was so awkward, and it was just like the actors are trying their best to breathe life into this script, and it was just not working. The movie could have been a lot stronger with adding more complexity to certain characters. Like, we got to sympathize with Ryle, who is Lily's abusive partner, but we didn't really get a lot of time with her relationship with her dad. I think that would have been so great for like Lily's character arc to understand like why she has these complicated feelings with her dad. We understand why she hates him because he was abusive to her mother. No, I don't feel like we got the full scope of her father. Like I feel like they could have delved into that character more. And I feel like they could have made him more complex character because at his funeral there are all these people here who adored him. They loved him because that's like what these guys are, right? Like they're super charismatic and generous and happy-go-lucky and a good citizen to the outside world, while inside like their home it's like hell on earth. They treat their family members terribly. I feel like we never got to see that side of him, but we only got to see the abusive side to him. I feel like that would have been a good way to show like the duality of the abuser. I would have liked to see the times when the dad was like a good dad. I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, so please bear with me. I do not like Atlas as a character. Here's why. Because at the end of the day, Lily's not really doing this by herself. It's not her, it's not this empowering feminine moment where she finally got to break free of this horrible relationship. It was a white knight coming to save her in the end. He really helped her in leaving Ryle. He helped her in her decision to have her baby. Even though she's not with this guy anymore, she still has another man to fall back on. It kind of weakens this message of women surviving abuse because, oh, they just go hang out with this guy now, so they're fine, they're safe. Men ultimately are the monsters and the white knights of their story. And I don't really like that dichotomy. Is that really what the movie is talking about? Like it ends with us, the women, surviving together, or it ends with us, Lily and Atlas? Also, Atlas is fucking stupid. He is so dumb. Who puts your phone number on a business card, puts it into the phone cover? Put it in the phone. Why would you do that? It's almost like he wanted him to find it. It's almost like Atlas wanted Ryle to find his phone number on purpose. And he picks a fight with Ryle in his business. Again, he is the owner. And he's picking a fight with this random guy in his restaurant. It's not a good look. We, as the viewers, understand why he's doing this, but as like a random spectator and a brand new customer, I would not want to go back to that restaurant. The underlying message when it comes to Atlas as a character is that you need men to help free you from other men. It's not as good of a message as they want it to be. I don't like him as a character. I personally feel like that scene at the end with him at the farmer's market with her was just, it was unnecessary. I much rather her have a nice moment with her daughter and her mom. But I guess it's a bit of a step up from the book. So in the book, Ryle picks up his daughter and he has unsupervised visits with a toddler. This man who struggles with anger management issues cannot handle being around a 2-year-old. There's no way. So at least that was a slight improvement from the books. I'm like, okay, I'd much rather have this ambiguous will they won't they ending than having Ryle drive off with his daughter, with his very vulnerable daughter in the sunset. Like there's so many ways that that could go wrong. It's just very unrealistic and not very safe for the child. Like there's no way a court would allow that. At least I hope not. That was my major critique of the film as a whole. Like I mentioned before, I feel like the movie is much better than the book, which I can't really say about many book to movie adaptations. This is actually very surprising for me. And I will say that even though this wasn't my favorite movie of the year so far, it was definitely better than I expected it to be. Overall, I feel like I would give this a 3 out of 10. I'm a little bit upset though because it sounds like Justin Baldoni, the director of the movie, didn't really get to express his full vision with the completed film that we got to see. So I'm interested to see if there's like a director's cut of the movie because I feel like that would be pretty good considering the fact that Justin Baldoni was the only person who seemed to actually market this film for what it was. And that brings me to the next section of this video. The controversy of the ends with us and the marketing and how the actors and director and the author of the book have been treating this film. I'm just going to kind of give you the cliff notes of everything that I have heard personally about the controversy surrounding this film. If you have anything that you can add about what you've heard about It Ends With Us, the movie, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear what you've heard and what your opinions are about how the actors and Colleen Hoover have approached marketing with this film. So the main critique surrounding the marketing of this film is the genre of the film. This film hits all of the basic rom-com checkpoint tropes, right? You have the love triangle, you have the friends to lovers, you have the small town business owner girl boss who can afford all these fancy clothes and apartments. And of course, you have the happy ending where she ends up with the guy of her dreams and with a baby. This movie, like I mentioned before, definitely feels more like a rom-com again. It had the style of one, it checked off the tropes, it even had the music. Of course, when you have a Taylor Swift song in your movie, it's like instant rom-com, which is kind of disappointing because, again, I feel like this movie missed a lot of the serious notes that it was trying to adhere to. And it kind of goes along with the marketing of this film. Those of you who have seen the It Ends With Us premiere, it is full of flowers, bright colors. It just looks like a premiere for a romantic comedy. It really does. Honestly, if I did not know what movie this was for, I would think it's just for another Netflix original romance movie. Like, that's what it kind of felt like to me. Actors and their glamorous dresses like Blake Lively, and then you see Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, and Justin is wearing his like pink pantsuit ensemble. The way that this has been handled, it definitely felt like they were promoting a very different movie with very different themes involved. And also, a lot of people have been saying that they've been trying to make Barbenheimer happen with like Deadpool Wolverine, and It Ends With Us. And it's like, Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen. Also, this next critique of mine is a bit of a personal thing for me, and it is Blake Lively's dress. Now, I will say, when I initially saw this dress, I was ecstatic. I love this dress so much. Blake Lively looks phenomenal in it. And then I learned the history about this dress, and this is originally Britney Spears' dress that she wore like 20 years ago. Not dissimilar to how Kim Kardashian took Marilyn Monroe's dress. And Blake Lively said that she thought it would be emblematic of her character. I read Britney Spears' book, The Woman in Me, and this woman has experienced her own version of domestic violence. Like, she was basically held prisoner for 13 years in her own conservatorship from her parents who financially abused her, who basically starved her, put her on a diet of chicken and canned vegetables for years because she was fat, apparently, and basically forced her to be their own little dancing monkey so they can make more money off of her. And then you take this woman's dress, someone who has personally dealt with a very traumatic experience, and you think that wearing her dress is like empowering? Again, feels very tone deaf for me. And then the whole marketing surrounding the movie. I never really saw the full trailers for the movie. I only really saw teaser trailers. So, you see Blake Lively singing karaoke with Justin Baldoni, and then title card. And there were people telling me, like, okay, this trailer, there are trailers that show you like the abuse. And the most recent one was from 3 weeks ago. The actual full trailer where you saw Ryle being abusive in any way, shape, or form wasn't released until 2 months before the release date. And the fact that so many people went into this movie, a lot of domestic violence survivors who had no idea what this movie was about, could you imagine? There are some people who have not read Colleen Hoover books, who maybe haven't heard of her, for going into this movie theater like, I want to see Blake Lively. And Blake Lively's like, yes, it's a romantic comedy. You will love it. It's about a woman discovering herself and true love and her new business. And I'm like, it's not what the story is about.
And It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
Blake Lively and Colleen Hoover, surprise, surprise, are treating this movie like a romance movie. And Justin Baldoni is the only one who actually seems to understand the assignment.
I wanted to make sure this film always had a female gaze, and I was never putting myself into it. But one of the things that I think is very easy to say, especially for us men, is when we maybe talk to somebody who's in this situation, or we read a book, or we hear a news story, the question that's always asked is, why did she stay? And that's the wrong question.
Yeah.
What we need to be asking ourselves is, why do men harm?
Yeah.
He's the only one who's like, hey, this movie is about domestic violence, and it really should be a message to men on how to better themselves. And this is like a wake-up call for men, and I love that. That is fantastic. To wrap things up, I am disappointed in the things I've heard about Blake Lively.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
And the marketing for this movie, and how they're choosing to be intentionally dishonest with what this movie is about. It's irresponsible for a movie that touches on this sensitive topic to not address the sensitive topic in the marketing. If you have hundreds, thousands of people flocking to the movie theater who are unaware of what this movie is about, you didn't do your job. Honestly, with how this movie even treats a sensitive subject matter, it's like you were so close, but not close enough. Lily Blossom Bloom is probably the most privileged, abused woman you will ever meet in your entire life. She is completely 100% supported by everyone in her circle. Her abusive ex-husband does not fight her on the divorce at all. She is able to have full custody of her child, and she ends up with a guy at the end of the day. She does not struggle with money at all. Her super new flower shop is booming. Business is good. She could leave for months on end on maternity leave and not have to worry about her business collapsing in on itself. Basically, this movie is like the Hollywoodization of abuse victims. When you are dealing with a movie that has this kind of subject matter, you are responsible for how this message is portrayed, and you have a certain responsibility to your fans and to moviegoers and to your audience and to people everywhere to make sure that they understand what this movie is about. And the fact that they just threw in like the random hotline phone number for domestic abuse and at the credits at the very end of the movie just shows the lack of care that these people have for actual survivors of abuse. How many people do you think are actually reading the credits at the end of this movie? How many people do you think are actually sticking around to get the hotline number? Like, this should be the first thing that they see when the movie starts. It's very clear that this movie is basically just a cash cow for many people involved in the project. And honestly, I'm not surprised with the direction that this marketing team took. I'm not surprised that Colleen Hoover, once again, is very tone deaf with the way that she is presenting her books. I'm not surprised that many people are going to the theaters completely oblivious to the fact that this movie is dealing with a lot of very traumatic events. And I'm very sad on behalf of the people who go in there unsuspectingly and will find out the hard way what this movie is really about. And it's very sad that the only person who is actually taking this seriously is the person who is conveying the abuser in the first place. And it really makes me question the direction of the romance genre going forward and whether or not people are going to be responsible of the content that they write when they see Colleen Hoover thriving, despite the fact that she is doing little to nothing to actually make sure that the people who are going through this very traumatic experience are getting the help that they so desperately deserve. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. Did you watch this movie? What did you think of it? Did you read the book? Did you like the movie better or the book? Let me know. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.